Welcome back, Funkers. My name's Ronnie, and you're watching the Funker News Network's weekly roundup. This past week has been a roller coaster of a ride, and we're going to be updating you on two major developments to each of our last two episodes. Now, we've got hypersonic missiles coming out of China, an update to the Stu Scheller case, and last and certainly not least, a follow-up regarding a law enforcement care package from our partner. Let's jump right in. In the future, we're hoping to move this format to daily, but we need your support to grow the viewership of the show. That means hitting the subscribe and bell buttons to make sure you're tuning in each time we put up an episode. Now, coming from the soon-to-be a big problem department is information related to last week's discussion about China and Taiwan. Specifically, we're talking about the next generation of intercontinental ballistic missile capabilities that China tested over the last few days. Now, these aren't your average ICBMs. These are hypersonic missiles capable of reaching speeds of Mach 5, 3,836.35 miles per hour. Now, China denied testing a hypersonic weapon capability, with Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Zhao Lijian saying that it is a vehicle, not a missile. Now, in the West, U.S. defense spending shows signs of military budget increasing for defensive capabilities against hypersonic missiles. In an article for the National Interest, U.S. Defense Agency Director Vice Admiral John Hill said the Pentagon's number one requirement for the development of these defensive measures is speed and schedule, adding, "We'll be testing a little bit earlier." This tells me that the U.S. is hoping to rapidly advance capabilities in the hypersonic weaponry arena. Some of the concerns of hypersonic missiles are that they can travel much further and much faster than current capabilities can track. They can also change their flight path in flight and don't follow a predictable arc like conventional missiles do. Hypersonic weaponry is the latest kinetic weapon set to hit the streets that has over-the-horizon capabilities, typically reserved for aircraft carriers and long-range bombers. And that said, there's no current known foolproof mitigation strategy for a fully operational hypersonic weapon capability. While the West has some level of capability to combat hypersonic weapons, it's more akin to a t-ball player trying to hit a fastball from Randy Johnson in his prime. Now, at present, the only thing keeping the West separated from the advanced weaponry of China is Taiwan, and it's got a lot to do with geography. This is a topic that warrants its own video, and we're going to go into a deep dive as to how Taiwan fits into this mess. You should keep an eye out for our first topic deep dive, and that's coming out soon. Now, all this China and Taiwan talk is really going to start to impact the knockoff market. So much for those China Special Jordans. But you know what it won't impact? American veteran-run companies like Arbor Arms. Arbor Arms is a sponsor of this episode of the Funker News Network and is a Marine Raider founded and run tactical and outdoor gear company who puts his gear to the test before it ever goes into your cart. John and his team have decades of special operations experience, and it all goes into the craftsmanship of their products. I have their sling on my AR, and it's an absolutely fantastic addition to my kit. I was going to do some B-roll with the sling on my home range, showing you how I use it with some cool transition or something, but John did it best. The sling is the best on the market. Yeah, I said it. It's the only sling on the market with a slider and a cam. It's got all the advantages of sliders and cams with half the tail of a traditional camming sling, and it's got built-in length of pull and girth adjustments for moving between the weapon system lengths. It allows you flexibility around your kit. You can move with it in harsh conditions, and it's made by and for special operators. Now, Arbor is currently kitting out special operators overseas, and you can grab yourself some of the same gear by checking the links down below in the description. Also, John's Instagram is absolute fire. Now let's move on. Let's talk about Stu Scheller. 2 weeks ago, we talked about Marine Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller and the position he was in after the Marine Corps placed him in pretrial confinement for violating a gag order his command had placed on him. If you want to catch up real fast, there's a link to that video down in the description. But since then, the situation has continued to develop, and Scheller was charged with 6 violations of the Uniform Code of Military Justice in a military court for his viral social media posts where he demanded accountability from his senior leaders for the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan in August. A disaster, mind you, which left 13 service members dead and hundreds of Americans stranded behind Taliban lines. While the Marine Corps tried to keep the press and members of Congress from being present at the trial, that was eventually overturned. Now, in attendance via Zoom, Multiple members of Congress and the press were granted access to the trial, which spanned about 2 days. In the first day of the trial, Lieutenant Colonel Scheller pleaded guilty to all charges that were put against him as part of a plea agreement with the Corps. He was ultimately convicted of violating Article 88, contempt toward officials, Article 89, disrespect towards superior commissioned officers, Article 90, willfully disobeying a superior commissioned officer, Article 92, dereliction in the performance of duties, Article 92, failure to obey an order or regulation, and 27 specifications of Article 133, which is conduct unbecoming an officer and a gentleman. And the judge who presided over the court hearings was Colonel Glenn Hines, and ultimately the man responsible for deciding Scheller's sentence. During the case, Hines rejected the prosecution's requested punishment and harshly criticized the Marine Corps' handling of the case overall. Hines said Scheller's videos in their full context showed a man who appeared to be in pain, confused, and significantly frustrated, rather than a rogue and potentially violent Marine that his lawyers argued was depicted in the charge sheets. On top of that, the judge stated that alleged leaks of Scheller's medical records to the press and the command's pretrial confinement raised the specter of unlawful command influence. However, this wasn't officially argued or determined in court. As punishment, Scheller received forfeiture of $5,000 in pay for 1 month, and had the command not placed Scheller in pretrial confinement, Hines stated that he would have taken 2 months' worth of pay. Under the plea deal, Scheller would be allowed to continue with the resignation of his commission to the United States Marine Corps and receive an honorable discharge or general under honorable condition. His specific discharge is going to be decided by the Secretary of the Navy. In his closing statement, Scheller's attorney Tim Parlatore said, "When senior leaders or certain people decide to take certain actions like leaking medical records, like putting someone in pretrial confinement when there's no risk of flight, there should be consequences. This leaves the floor open for Scheller to possibly take up a countersuit in the future." Now let us know what you think is going to happen next down in the comments. Should Scheller pursue a countersuit for defamation in civilian court once he's fully exited the service? Or does he need to take his licks and go about the rest of his life? Let us know. Similar to our coverage of the Stu Scheller situation 2 weeks ago, we told you that we were working with our LAPG partner to put together a care package for Officer Holloway. We wanted to update you that we received the care package, and we're going to be shipping it out to him this week. Now, for those that don't recall, Officer Holloway was involved in a fight for his life after being shot in the head. Even after he was shot in the head, he remained clear, concise, and composed with bystanders controlling the scene until his backup arrived. You can watch that fight over at Funker530.com, and I've included a link down in the description. Now, we'd love to send care packages to every one of our law enforcement professionals across the nation, as so many of them are placed into the toughest situations one could imagine. That said, we're a small team and we can only do so much. Officer Holloway, I hope that this is a little bit of a bright spot in an otherwise crappy situation, and I hope you're recovering well, man. We'd still love to speak with you if you're out there. Reach out to us. Well, that's going to be it for this week's episode of the Funker News Network. Again, I'm Ronnie. And if you enjoyed this show, make sure to be tapping on the subscribe and bell buttons so you'll catch the notifications for the next episode. Now, I'm going to be live over on Facebook immediately following this video is released. If you want to discuss any of these topics with me, just check the link in the description. Not to toot horns or anything, but we've done more than $30,000 to veteran charity this year from our stream. As always, stay informed. Hey Funkers, I hope you guys enjoyed this week's roundup. We need you to be headed over to the App Store and download the Funker530 app. We're continuously improving the user experience on the app as well as on the website, and the app allows us to reach you without a need or reliance on social media's algorithms and agendas. Now, we know that nothing in life is perfect, but your support on the app helps drive our day-to-day and growth as a company and as a team. So once you download the app, make sure you're also leaving a high-quality review, because there are real U.S. and allied nation veterans behind this platform. We're not some media conglomerate. Pull it down, enjoy the footage, and we'll see you next time. Out of here.